Uncle Ron and stuff. Let's see. Yeah, that's up there. Okay, Uncle Ron and stuff. And quiet moment. The tribes are here. And behind the annual meeting of the tribes. This is 2023 annual meeting of the tribes. So, a few minutes of quiet. And I turned 7-7 yesterday. On the 18th of July, I was 7-7. Lucky sevens. 3 sevens in a row would be real lucky. 3 sevens. 777. But I like sevens is a lucky number. If I play slot machines, I just play something with the sevens on it. Okay. Well, anyway, time. Time is a weird one to talk about. There's all kind of stuff about time. He who hesitates is lost. Time is a weird perception and idea. And from a physics point of view, if you don't know, you're always looking into the past. Because light has a fixed speed to it. It's not infinitely fast. So the farther you are away from an object, the minuscule amount of time it took to get from that object to your eyeball means, even though it's nanoseconds, billionths of a second, you're always looking into the past. And the farther away you look at something, the farther you're looking into the past. So that's an aspect of time. But time is, where does the love of God go when the waves turn the minutes to hours? The wreck of Edmund Fitzgerald. Some things can feel like a second and they're an hour. Other things that feel like an hour go by like a second. There's a perception of time. 77 years. Years is weird. We talk about light years. We reference everything in terms of the orbit that our planet makes around our sun. And actually, they've done a better job than that. They've calculated a standard year to be so many vibrations of a cesium atom or something like that. So a standard year is so many vibrations, and you can take whatever yardstick. And I was watching physics lectures, and the guy he likes to use an analogy of yardsticks. Everything has yardsticks attached to it. It's measured in some way. We lay sticks down that have a certain length. Anyway, the same is true for light. It takes a certain amount of time. It travels, 360,000 miles a second, which is pretty fast, but it's not infinitely fast. Everything is limited by that. We still haven't broken the speed barrier on anything I'm aware of when it comes to light. So we live in the past, and that's time. Time in a bottle. There was a song about time, and tick-tock goes the clock. Time, maybe you're entitled to so many heartbeats, and that's it. Time. Time it takes to do something or other. I'm working on a computer, bring it up from Windows 8 to Windows 11, and I don't know how many hours it takes to do stuff like this, but a lot of time to do that. There are a lot of steps and a lot of things, but time. And what do you spend your time on? What do you, when you're not committed to working, or you're not committed, what do you spend your time on? Spending time. You spend time. Time is memories. Time is measured by yardsticks, so it's hours, minutes, days, seconds, weeks, solar years, whatever they call it, calendar year. So I've made 77 loops around our sun. Now, the whole solar system has been moving with the expansion of the universe, and it's also revolving around the center of our galaxy. So even though I've made 77 loops of our solar system around the sun, it's not been in the same space at all. Completely different space. Now, okay, all space is the same, right? Well, I don't know for sure about that yet. certainly gravitation is it's watered down. It's not one of the greatest, strongest forces in the universe, but it doesn't have to be absolutely the same. Wherever the sun rotates around the center of our galaxy, and it takes like I forgot, 65 million years or something to make one rotation around the center of our galaxy. So it takes a long time, and this particular spot we're right now, even though the galaxy is moving, we're not in the same space that was 65 million years ago, or the 65 million before that. And our solar system is something like 4 billion years old, with the universe being 13.7, 13.9 billion. So with the Earth being 4 billion years, it will have made, it takes the count of 4 billion circles of the sun that it's made, of which I've gotten to do right at 77 times. Time. Time ticks away. Tick tock goes the clock. I don't know if you ever had one of those clocks. I did when I was little, that you wound up and then it tick tocked all night. Tick tock. Or those metronome things, and you sit by the piano and it was tick tock, tick tock. When I first started working, worked on digital logic circuits and had to use an oscilloscope. And you look in this scope and you're looking at 10 nanosecond wide strobe pulse, and then you have to do a strobe in the middle of the pulse where it's jittery. You can't strobe on the edges of the pulse. It has to get flat in there for a couple of nanoseconds anyway. And then you have to time it and do your strobe so you get a good reading of is the underlying issue a 1 or a 0. But the point being, I was looking, come right out of school, I'm looking at nanoseconds. So 77 years in nanoseconds is a long time. 77 years related to 13.7 billion in the universe is nothing. I saw it one time where, like 400,000 years ago, if we say man had been around 400,000 years in some sort of recognizable version, 4 billion years of the Earth time, and down here in the last hair on the length of the measuring rod that has 4 billion years on it, it's not even a 32nd or a 64th or a 128th or anything. It's like nothing. And then if you take everything that we take for granted, the electric lights and the automobiles and the car, all the stuff we have now, technology, internet, you're talking, actually all that kind of stuff has been in the last 50 years or so. Computers, everybody having a computer, everybody having a cell phone or watching, blah, 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 40 years, 30 years, 20 years. And if the hair on the yardstick of 4 billion years, man being around as a hair, then all that you see have access to now has been around like boop. It's gone boop. As time, that's one aspect of time. That's one way people think about time. One way I think about time. But I've been married for 50 years. That's another way to think about time. And memories. No, I do not remember every single day. I was a guy who lived up the street from me, and he'd say, well, tell me, give me a date, a year and a day. Okay, what was it? Friday, July 29th of 1975. What were you doing? He could tell me. Now, I don't know. I could have made it up for all I know, but he acted like he knew, and he could certainly remember the great thunderstorm of 1994. That was a bad one. He remembered that. He had a memory like that, and I think he did, or he thought he did. I don't know. Does it make a difference if you think you do or you thought you do? Yeah, probably. I mean, anyway, time. And I never really had much interest in my own personal history. Um, it seemed like more important to know now and maybe looking into the future of what could happen and what I need to deal with. There was also a book about Be Here Now. And what I take away that was, if you spend too much of your consciousness thinking about yesterday, or someone said something to you a week ago and you're still thinking about it, and what a knifey response you should have or could have had, that's not so good, because you're totally missing the day, the now part. And if you spend all your time worrying about the future, then you're not in the now either. So it was Be Here Now. And that's easier said than done, because now is constantly going like this, now, now, now. Everything is receding into the past. Time travel, and none of the equations don't say that would work. But then, the equations were created in the last, that teeny little hair of mankind, so give it another 50 years and we're, I wouldn't mind traveling, like if I could get from here to San Francisco, and I step into a booth and boop, I pop out the other end of San Francisco. I'd really like that. I mean, it would be kind of weird, but I would like it, as opposed to getting on a tin can and flying for 7 hours or whatever it is to get there. Time is part of a measurement thing, and we tend to group distance. Like when you're talking about stars and stuff, you don't really say, well, they're 789 trillion miles away. You say, well, they're 68 light years away, or it's the number of calendar years that light would have to travel from there to get to here. And that's a long, long time. It means if we tried to go there, it would take 67 of our years traveling at the speed of light to get there. Everything in the universe is really spread out in the way of measuring stick yards as well as time, because you can only go so fast. Now, humans, we don't all go at the same speed. We don't all think at the same speed. Time. There was a song about, I feel what you feel, it just takes me longer. It's valid. We don't all have the same time scaling. If you go to other countries, they definitely don't have the same time scaling. When I was in South Korea, that was, I don't know what year they were up to. I mean, they were still living like they probably did 1,000 years ago. With minor changes, but overall, it would, if you had gone farther out, away from the roads, you'd find, and there are people like that in the United States, I'm sure, that are still living like they did in the 1800s and the 1900s, or some such thing. The technology didn't invade its way in and wiggle their way into them. Amish people still live like, I don't know, live in the 1800s, 1700s. No electricity, they got lanterns, and I don't know if they have indoor running water or not, but you know what I'm saying, time dilation. From a physics point of view, all time is relative, and if I told you everything, light only travels so fast, and whatever you see, it's taking some period of time to get to you, then from a physics point of view, everything is relative to the observer, and that includes time, which is a weird concept to grasp, but way over there, way over there, time is, if measured there and measured here, is not the same, and that's interesting. And what's really interesting is near black holes where gravity is really intense. If an observer like on Earth was watching somebody approaching a black hole and getting sucked into it, it would appear they would slow down and never ever go into the black hole because of time dilation. Time would slow down. From our perspective, time would slow down, and that's one of the things that Einstein had to do with gravity. It actually warps space and time. And that's a weird concept. Maybe that's the future travel idea of moving into the past or future. You can warp space. You'd have to have a really intense. That would be one way to do it. Is warp space so much that time got distorted. And time is related to how curved space becomes. I know that sounds weird, but as space becomes more curved and curved, then uh, gravity is a function of how space is warped. And if it's really deep, then if you put something up here, it's going to go down real fast. And you say, well, the gravity was really intense. But it really wasn't so much that as you had really curved, steep, walled space. That, and because the whatever it is went down so fast, there's a time element to it. Okay, well, I don't know. I can't. I don't maybe understand it well enough to explain to you what I'm trying to get out. But then there's all these other aspects of time, and time's with us every day. When I for the longest time, I never had a wristwatch. Didn't need one. In fact, I have a thing in my head. Maybe a lot of people do. I can go do something, and I know I have a 4 o'clock meeting, and I start feeling as I'm getting I got to stop and go get cleaned up because I got a 4 o'clock meeting. Being outside, I think, because the sun, you can get solar clock built into your head just by being outside enough that, okay, the sun's getting low on the horizon, I know it's getting on toward whatever time. I used to like to guess. Okay, I would stop something, I'd go on, well, I'd say it's 3:30. I'd look at the clock and it'd be 3:23. I'd be off by 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But I could make a good guess based on just looking at the sun. And, that the sun is the day, 24 hours a day. It gets light, it's dark. It's interesting how that basic stuff would fashion constructs in your mental thinking about time. Um, time. Born, live, die. Time and dying. I don't know. I don't place that one. Bob Dylan was saying, it must be like hanging around an old musty museum. That's one way to contemplate it. But time, infinity in terms of space or time is a hard one to wrap around. It goes on forever and ever and ever. That's the only thing that really ever scared me about hell is it goes on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. I had grown in this life to understand that no matter how bad it got, it would end. I don't care how bad it is, it would come to an end eventually. And so that gave me hope, and hope is with the Pope, and I could survive it. Something that goes on for infinity is not, that doesn't strike me as a really, really good thing. I mean, good or bad, if you had something, I don't know, maybe if you were in a really, really good sweet spot and it ran forever, it'd be good. I don't know. Time, time tense, time cells, time cells. You get lithium battery cells. We got time cells. There was a movie once where everybody had some kind of one. It was a thing on you, and you had to renew it. And if it ran out, you died. I don't know. It was a story. We have so much time here. And this was on reality. You could see it. It had around your band, a band around your arm. And the only way was to buy more time or something. I don't know. And you could give other people part of your time, and they would pay you back. Maybe you could trade time. We do that. It was one of the things about working. You're going to trade your time for a dollar amount. You've got a skill set. You go in and you work for the man for an hour or a day or a year, and he pays you so much for that time. And I don't know, to me, it seemed really obvious that if I was going to do an hour of time, the more money I could get from the hour, the better I liked. Maybe then less hours I would have to work. So getting a skill set that people really needed and were willing to pay more money for that hour than somebody else, that's what I wanted to do. An hour is an hour is an hour. What do you make? $7.50 an hour or $7,000 an hour? I prefer to get on the upper end. I mean, there's a limit to it. You know, if you could make $10,000. I saw an interview with a prostitute in Vegas, and she was saying, "Oh, well, on the weekend, you know, I can make $8,000 for her time. What is that? 48 hours, she could make $8,000. That's a little stretchy. It's not something I think I could do, but you see what I'm saying is, you know, I don't want to get into legality. I don't want to do illegal things or immoral things to get more money for that hour, but an hour is an hour is an hour. And what do you do with your hours? What do you do with your minutes? We don't really think of that so much. What do you do with your minutes? They go by so quick, you put even value on minutes. I'm sure somebody's laying in a hospital someplace probably putting value on the minutes. I don't really want to die staring at a ceiling in a hospital. I don't really know how I want to, but I don't think that would be cool. Just staring up at one of those suspended ceilings made out of recycled Starbucks paper cups. That doesn't do much for me. But anyway, time. And I assume as you get closer to the edge, as you get older, you get closer and closer to the edge, that maybe you feel it. I was wondering if that, you know, how you get in that. Like people say, I got less time, I got a whole less time in the future than I've already had in the past. There's no way I'm going to do another 77 years. Come on, everybody. You know, average lifespan of what, 86, 87 now for a male, maybe. I think I'm overestimating that, but time, it's built into the mechanism, right? We all have cells degrade and you know, I don't get, I mean, trees, they topple over, they rot out. It takes them a long time. I think where some turtles live a couple hundred years, I don't know. Maybe because they have slow heartbeats. Time. But as the future, past, present, the only thing that really matters is now. Again, now is constantly going by, but and what do you do with you spend the time that you have now as opposed to worrying about the future or just remorse, whatever it is, over the past. Well, I wish I'd done better, blah, blah, blah. I could have done this, blah, blah, blah. I should have done that. Regrets. Regrets are time-based. Nah, don't even go there with that one. Time. Computers, you got a crystal in there that's vibrating, and it runs, it provides a time base for all the logic that goes out through. So you're familiar with time because you hear it in a different way. It's like, okay, I've got a 10 megahertz CPU, or this CPU is running at 3.4 gigahertz, which means so many cycles per second. And that then, it's like a clock, it's running that fast, and off of that, you can't go faster than that. That's as fast as anything is going to go. Actually, it steps down from that. But you get 3.4 possible things per gigabillions per second. Time. So the computers get faster and faster, and basically as they get the clock, the master crystal, whatever, master clock gets faster, the logic gets faster down below. It doesn't take 40 billionths of a second to do something, it only takes 30 or 20 billionths of a second to do something. So gradually you can build up performance. Time with a hard drive is interesting. The hard drive is like a record player going around, and there's 5,400 revolutions per minute record players. There's 7,200 revolutions per minute hard drives. There was a 10,000, I think it might even have been a 15,000 revolutions per minute. The faster the record went around, the faster you could pull data off. So and you're talking milliseconds, because I mean even cars, you know, when they talk about RPMs per second, you know, you get up to 2,500, 3,000, 4,000 revolutions per minute. It seems like a lot, but it would be, if you looked at it, it would be hard to be able to see the motion. It would be like a blur. But nonetheless, it's not infinite. I mean, it's okay. But we have different ways of time being associated with other things. Like I said, cycles per second, which is, math crap. But the power in your house is 60 cycles per second. It goes up and down. It changes value from plus 120 whatever down to a minus 120 whatever. 60 times a second. You know, well, that's really weird. I never noticed the lights going out when it went down. Anyway, time, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Well, wear watches. We know when a movie comes on at 9 o'clock. Well, we go to bed at 10, 11 o'clock. You know, we all have. We know every day we get told when the sun comes up. 6:43 a.m. this morning. The sun will set at 7:14 tomorrow night. Time is built into it. In fact, I don't know. I need there must be some equation, time and money. I read the other day that it wasn't that long ago. They were talking about wealth per person. What was if everything you owned, if you sold it, how much money would you get from it? And they were talking about a single black woman, like in Chicago or something, $5. That was the total net accumulation of her life's work efforts to that point. And that was shocking. I mean, you buy something for $50, you'd be lucky if you could sell it at a yard sale for 10 or 5 or even 3. But nonetheless, it was shocking because life's work, time. Somebody spent, they sold their time to the man, or they did something, and in return they get money back. I don't know, is it any better or worse? In the 1850s, you had to take a bucket to the creek to get water. And it took time to do that. Now you just turn on the faucet and you get water, but you have to pay for the water coming out of the faucet, so therefore you got to go work for the man to get some money to pay the plumbing people to keep the water flowing in the house. It's not really any different. You still have to do something. It's not for free. Getting water, keeping warm, getting food, all those things people have been having to do forever. It just changed when we started specializing, and I only know really how to do one thing, sort of. But other people willing to pay me to do that one thing well, and I take my money and distribute it to all those people who provide water and food and shelter and insurances and gasoline and all that kind of stuff. It's off the beaten track, but it's, again, back on time again, and the hour that some people bitch and moan about it. I mean, if you put them in 1850, they'd probably be bitching and moaning the same way. I got to go get firewood again. It's not that all that different. You're just in a different way of doing it. Money was actually a good form of exchange. It was a good evolution in the culture of mankind. It has really helped us become organized and wealth, and that is, I can get oranges pretty much year round. And once upon a time, I mean, there's no oranges growing around where I live, and even if it did, I wouldn't know how to grow them. But you can get them, and this is simply by trading, if you will, goods. I could trade you a back of a whole truckload of wood from here because I got plenty of it, or rocks, and in return you give me oranges. Well, but sometimes they don't need wood. You want the orange, they don't need wood. So money became a universal sort of trading instrument, and it's a good idea. But people bitch and moan. I don't think they understand how the whole thing. Again, if you were in 1850, you'd have to be carrying buckets of water, and you'd have to be start your own fires, know how to do that, and you get firewood, and you'd have to go hunt your own food and grow your own food, and you know. So I take money down to the grocery store and buy lettuces instead of raising them. Time. This is too long. There's a whole concept of time. I have yet to. I was looking to try to find that nail and hit it right on the head for you, but I didn't do it this time, for which I'm sorry. This is Uncle Ron and stuff. This one was about time. The day is the 19th of July 2023, and it's one day after I turned 77. 2 lucky sevens in a row. Bye-bye.